Hey, this is Judah Mantell for SceneForge Studio, and in this video I'm going to go over how to use the new Unity SDK to get content from SceneForge server, including body tracking, into any Unity project in real time, using NDI and Spout. So let's jump right in. So I have this GitHub page open, it'll be linked in the description, and that has extensive documentation on the way this works, how to install it and how to use it, and this video is going to serve as a companion to this documentation. You can download the release of a Unity package directly from here, but because it makes use of clack Spout and clack NDI, Spout is only required on Windows, you're going to have to download those packages first. So those are linked under the installation section. These are two packages by Kajiro, who makes fantastic Unity plugins available for free. And he basically handled all the backend stuff for us, and the SceneForge SDK serves as essentially a user-friendly wrapper around that functionality that also takes care of the tracking for you. So you're going to want to install that using the installation instructions in both the NDI and Spout links over here. This uses scoped registries, so it's really easy to use and keep it up to date. So you want both of those, except for on Mac, where Spout is not necessary. And once you have that, we can jump into the actual package itself. So you're going to want to download the Unity package from here, and then simply drag and drop into your project, and it will install that for you. You will get errors if you install this before you install the other one, the other two, so just keep that in mind. Alright, so now that I have my Unity project open, I'm using a demo scene that is actually included in the SDK folder. So let's kind of break down what's happening here. So I have this plane and a quad over here, a video surface, a light, a camera, and then my server manager. Now this is an empty object that is holding my server or SceneForge server script. You can add this via the add component menu. You can have as many of these as you like in your scene, just make sure they're on individual objects, so you can't have two on the same object. And you can see on the right hand side, we can choose the source type of Spout or NDI. You can choose the server name, which will be automatically detected when I have server running. And you can also choose a target renderer. Now, you can also access the texture as well as the metadata by just referring to this component and then saying .texture or .metadata. So you can roll your own custom solution if you'd like, but this is just to make it as easy as possible for you. So in this example, I have my video surface over here. You can see it has a material on it. This material is included, but you could use any material you like. It's just set to transparent, so it'll actually read that transparency data, which is important. And it'll just override the base map. So you see that if I go to my server manager and I drag my surface here, you can choose the material property to override. In this case, it's the base map. And there we have it pretty much set up. Now you'll notice that I have my video surface parented to my actual mesh, with the child mesh situated at 0.5 on the y-axis. This is so when I position my video surface, I can move it around the scene as I want, with the pivot point being at the floor. It just makes it a little bit easier, and it also makes it easier to control for tracking, as I'll get into in a second. So I'm going to go to my server manager, I'm going to select Spout for this example. Now I have SceneForge server open. Now, in order for this functionality to work, you're going to want to be running version 0.7.10 or later. By the time you're seeing this video, this will be available. So I have my footage of my guy here, and it's fully keyed out with the background transparent. And I can go to Spout and just click Start Server. So now over here, if I select my input source, you'll see SceneForge server is now found. And when I click play, immediately we have our footage running via Spout. So again, Spout is only available on Windows and runs locally on the machine through the graphics card only. So if you want networked video, you're going to want to use NDI. Additionally, body tracking is only available through NDI as well, so I'll talk about that now. But you can see this is being sent accurately with all the stuff, and because it has transparency, any changes I make to the keying, as you see here, will also get applied. So I can adjust anything I want like that. And again, because it's just overriding the base map, if I go to my material, you'll see that we have a render texture over here, that if I double click, you can see we have our received texture like so. But that is just for simple video input. So now let's talk about how to get tracking from a SceneForge server into a Unity project. So I'm going to stop the server here, and I'm going to switch from spout to NDI. And I'm going to go to my 3D view, and I'm going to enable pivot tracking like so. So now we have our pivot tracking. It's following my camera. And you can see it's updating like that. So in order to use tracking, you're going to want to be in 3D mode, select the tracking mode, and then over here, when you're in NDI output mode, you can select a scent tracking option. In this example, I'm going to choose body, and I'm going to click Start Server. So now in my server manager, I'm going to switch from spout to NDI, and you'll see a new section appears called tracking type. So you can choose between none, body 3D, body pivot, and mobile. Now at the moment, mobile is not available just yet, as you'll see there. So in this example, we'll choose body pivot. Now you'll see you'll need to select a surface child transform. That is going to be the child of our parented main object. So keep in mind the hierarchy needs to be like this, with your actual renderer underneath a main parent. So I'm going to drag my surface over here. And now when I click play, we can select our server input. And once that's working, you'll see now it jumps over here, but you can see we have our body tracking working. You can see the surface actually moving along with our object here. You're going to want to configure it a little bit so it doesn't jump like this, but after some experimentation, you'll understand better the way this works. But you'll see that it's not going to follow my camera. So if I were to move my camera from here to over here, you'll see that as I move it, it's not rotating like you'd expect. That's because it's only going to handle the positioning. In order for it to actually follow the camera, you need to take your parent object and apply a component called look at camera. So that's included with this SDK. And when I enable it, you're going to want to select a target camera. And now, wherever I move my camera, it's going to follow it, properly adjusting the pivot point based on our options over here. It'll only rotate on the y-axis, but you can disable that if you want it to be a little more universal. I'm not really sure what the use case for this would be, but the option's there for you. And that is basically how to use pivot tracking. Again, I recommend experimenting with this. It's constantly being improved upon and always being changed and iterated on, so just keep that in mind. Now let's talk about 3D tracking. So I'm going to go back to SceneForge Server over here, and I'm going to select a video that has my 3D tracking. So let's choose this video of the lady walking towards the camera. And let's just go back to 2D view to actually get a better key of what's going on here. And adjust the crop on the right. Now we have this set up. Go back to 3D view and switch from pivot to 3D. So now we have our tracking properly set up. Now if we go to my SceneForge server, go to NDI, SceneForge server, and change from body pivot to body 3D. And you'll see that once it picks that up, you can click play. And you'll have your 3D tracked. And you'll see that it is going to adjust the scale of the surface to compensate for that depth, thus doing the 3D tracking. And you can control the locomotion scale from within server, and that'll update everything in your main Unity application as well. So that's basically the way this works. In the future, down the line, we're going to have support for inputting from Unity to SceneForge server, as well as the mobile camera app. So you can essentially use the SceneForge virtual camera app in any other engine, which is super exciting. Keep in mind, again, you can use all of the Clack NDI and Clack Spout components completely independent from SceneForge server, like so. Spout sender or receiver. So if you wanted to set up a Unity camera to go to SceneForge server, you could do that with the Clack Spout sender or NDI sender, and just input it as any other layer source using the NDI or Spout option over here. But that's up to you. In the future, we hope to make it a little bit easier just through this server component. Additionally, an Unreal Engine SDK is coming soon, hopefully, but because Spout and NDI are available off the shelf, either within Unreal or with other third-party plugins, it's pretty easy to get it set up if you're familiar with Unreal. And so with that, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, or you can email me directly at judah@sceneforge.app and I'll get back to you there. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next video.